said a few minutes ago that the open plan office space is dead. Yet, I've been to Miguel's place and I've listening to the others where it's an open plan office space, but people are working differently. And if you go back to the two of yours notion about the city being the workplace and the workplace being the city, and I'm just going to get to the question, and James talking before about the middle school, not the Googles and not the people that are working in WeWork. How would you incorporate the lessons that you are learning into those companies that are growing from 50 to 500 people?
Great question. Well, I think that in turn, I don't know about the open plan being dead, or I'm not sure exactly where that's from, but there's definitely larger companies, even fairly innovative and nimble ones, are learning from that model because it really is pervading everything. And a lot of this, if you think of startups as departments or teams of people. For example, a lot of larger companies will set up in teams, and they'll do there's that experiment that Chayat Day did back in whenever that was, in the 90s or something, of hoteling, where people didn't have fixed desks, they'd come in, and it failed rather spectacularly. But there's a kind of a more mature version of that happening, where you have teams sitting in areas, and they may only be there for a certain amount of time while they're working on a particular project, and then they are all sitting together, and they're not ensconced there for years. They don't have the whole cubicle kind of fortress built up. They'll be working a team together. They'll have a little place where they can sit and informally meet in between their desks, like a sofa and a couple chairs. And so they have a kind of, it is open, and they're kind of clustered around what what the teams are working on. But then after that project is done, they may reshuffle and move somewhere else. So there is a sense of mobility within a larger office, even if it is a larger company that's doing it.
I actually have a question to that question for us, which makes me think about all of these co-working spaces that we're talking about, and all of the names that had been thrown out, especially with regards to the larger scale, fundamentally have a very grassroots feel to them. They're very organic. And then I start to ask myself, well, who is General Assembly, or who are some of these others when they start to grow and become the much larger companies, and how will we maintain that critical mass and that hum and that spirit that existed when you were 4 people? And then also to that effect, once this, which is already starting to be seen, you're creating new construction for these types of entities, and they're growing larger and larger. Again, how do you maintain that spirit, or does it fundamentally change? And some of us will be sitting here 20 years talking about this model as the old one and something new starting.
I think what is the one thing that we can expect is rapid acceleration and change. If you look at just the makeup of co-working spaces in the last 5 years, and the influence that this edge condition that we call co-working has had in corporate space design, it's already very fast, it's become mainstream. And I think that, to go back to your question a little bit, you can begin to see across them space typologies almost, like small units of space that more positively affect, that are setting the stage for certain desired interactions. Whether it's an open plan where you have a mashup, whether it's a small private room when you need to have a one-person phone call, whether it's a phone booth because you need that privacy. There's all these space typologies working in the kitchen, all these things that prior to it maybe we didn't have. But I think those will change very quickly over time, and you certainly can see how they change within the life cycle of even one co-working space. It's directly proportional to the growth of the organization and the change. I think that the lessons, for me at least, are just higher level principles of design that are beginning to become apparent, and those don't change so much as the spaces themselves do.